our small businesses. Our administration has worked to come up with ideas that can help our fellow Ohioans. We have one that we're going to announce today. For example, in the past, earlier this week, the State Controlling Board approved a new package of CARES Act funding to help Ohio small businesses, bars, restaurants, the arts, nonprofit organizations, and our hospitals. And I thank the General Assembly for doing that. In addition, the package that they approved will provide critical rent, mortgage, water and sewer payment assistance to many low-income Ohioans who very much needed and need that help. We're here today to announce a plan to provide additional support to ease the financial burden created by the pandemic. I am today asking the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation Board of Directors to approve a dividend of $5 billion, $5 billion to further support Ohio's economy, Ohio's employers. Now, since March, BWC has issued 2 other dividends for Ohio employers who are covered by BWC. Our current dividend that I'm asking the BWC board to approve at $5 billion is nearly 4 times the size of the last dividend. And this is the largest BWC dividend that has ever been issued. Our economy is coming back, but many of our businesses, businessmen and women, continue to struggle. And another even larger dividend that I'm asking for today will help so many businesses stay open, keep them operating, pump money directly into the economy. In the next few days, the BWC Board of Directors will host a special meeting virtually where they will vote on the requested $5 billion dividend. If approved, these checks would be distributed in December of this year. The checks would range from hundreds of dollars to even millions of dollars for employers covered by the BWC system. On average, for example, a restaurant could see a check for about $13,000. It's an average. In regard to our agriculture community, the average Ohio farm could see a check for roughly $9,500. City of Columbus is a public employer, and this certainly includes some public employers, stands to collect the single largest check at nearly $64 million from this dividend. With today's announcement, this would be the agency's 3rd dividend of more than $1 billion this year. If approved, it would bring the total to nearly $8 billion in dividend checks in 2020. In late April, BWC issued a $1.54 billion dividend to employers covered by BWC. And then in October, they issued another $1.34 billion. Those particular checks are still going out this week. Despite the pandemic, BWC remains in a strong fiscal position, thanks largely to healthy investment returns on employer premiums, a declining number of claims each year, and prudent fiscal management. I congratulate BWC. I congratulate the board. I congratulate Stephanie McLeod. Issuing these dividends, we believe, is very important. We've been told by many that these dividend dollars the ones we've issued in the past, have been lifelines. Bottom line, this is about keeping our businesses open. This is about keeping people employed in Ohio. Lieutenant Governor Houston is also with us, and I'd like to turn it over to him to talk about the impact that this dividend program will have. John?
Thanks, Governor. Thanks for your advocacy of this, and I want to thank Administrator McLeod and her team on managing the fund in a way that this day is possible. I want to emphasize something you alluded to, Governor. This is really the third step in a package of things that have happened literally within the last 7 days. Checks started landing in the mail for $1.5 billion worth of dividend refunds last week for the BWC. Small business grants with the CARES Act dollars, $10,000 they're eligible for, which we're going to soon be allowed to. They're soon going to be applying for. 2,500 goes back out to liquor permit holders we know who are struggling. And this $5 billion announcement is truly going to be a game-changing event, particularly in combination with those other levels of support for many businesses in Ohio. And this is going to be for some of them the difference between staying open and closing, but even more cases whether somebody gets laid off or gets to keep their job. We know that the virus has created a lot of concern from a health point of view. We also know it has economic impact to businesses and in people's real lives. And what you're seeing here that we've been announcing over the last 3 weeks is just a recognition of that, and to let the people of the state and the businesses and the people who are out there trying to keep their job and work and support their families that we're trying to find every idea and every resource we can to help make that happen. This is, we just don't want those businesses and we don't want those jobs to also be a casualty of COVID. And this is going to make a difference for people. I want to add that this isn't deficit spending. This is money that businesses paid in and the BWC managed well, and it's a dividend that they've earned, and it's being returned to them at really a crucial time of need. We know that federal PPP dollars ran out. We know that there's no stimulus available right now. There may be one in the future. We know that the cases are going up, and this is a way to really inject a lifeline to people during a difficult time. And I know that not just based on my beliefs, but on conversations that we've had out there with businesses, because we test flight these issues and say, what would this mean? What's the right way to do it? I talked to one business owner in Troy, Ohio, or we got information from one business owner in Troy, Ohio, who said that she will immediately return this dividend with to her employees, because she knows they've been struggling during this time, and she's going to help them out. We talked to one local fire and EMS group who said that the refund to their local government is going to help keep police and fire officials on the job that they might otherwise have had to cut back on. And small businesses. One of the businesses we talked to said, every act of kindness during the stressful time to a small business is so very much appreciated. Thank you. This is stuff that it's may sound like it's a big number, $5 billion. We hear numbers, but these are people, these are businesses, these are jobs, these are lives, they're families that are being changed. And Governor, and thanks for your leadership and in recognizing this, and thanks to Administrator McLeod and the board at BWC for their efforts to make this happen.
Governor, thank you very much. Administrator Stephanie McLeod also joins us today. And Administrator, thank you for the great work that you and Workers' Compensation team have been doing. Congratulations. This is, I think it's going to be very good news for our small businesses, our businesses throughout the state of Ohio, and some local government as well. So we'll turn it over to you for some comments.
Thank you, Governor DeWine and Lieutenant Governor Husted. Good afternoon. BWC is pressed, and that is to take advantage of BWC's strong investment returns and distribute those to employers when they need it most. As you and the Lieutenant Governor have stated, Ohio is in this together. Last year, we saw our largest rate decrease in at least 60 years for private employers at 20%. We lowered that rate again this year by 13%. Even with continued falling premium rates and multiple dividends since 2013, our net position and financial stability continue to exceed our expectations. Like everyone else, we were concerned about how shutdowns across the globe would impact our investments this summer. I am pleased to announce that just since July, we have earned just under another $1 billion in investment income. What this tells us is that our modeling and our investment policies are solid. So using this information, we are ready to support businesses to stay open, to reduce layoffs, and to keep Ohioans employed. Because we have returned almost $8 billion to employers, our goal is to get the dividend in the hands of the employers by the end of this year. This allows them to consult with their tax advisors in January about potential tax consequences of so much dividend in one tax year, and also to apply COVID losses that they may have had this year against that income. I want to take a moment and thank the BWC team. Talking about $8 billion or even masks for 200,000 employers may seem easy, but this has been a heavy lift for the incredible team at BWC, and I just want to make sure they know it is appreciated. I would also like to thank our board of directors for their support for the agency to be responsive and agile, especially in these times. Thank you, Governor DeWine, for having me on today. We are so pleased to help Ohio's economy stand tough during this global pandemic. And in the case of Ohio versus COVID, I think the sure bet is on Ohio every time.
Administrator McLeod, thank you very much for the work that you do and your team does, and thanks for being on today. We appreciate it very much. Adam Sharp with the Ohio Farm Bureau also joins us today. Adam, thank you very much for being with us, and I wonder if you could talk maybe about what this will do, what impact this will have for Ohio farmers.
Thank you, Governor, and also thanks to Lieutenant Governor Husted and also to Administrator McLeod. Really appreciate you having me on today. Farm Bureau is, of course, very proud and privileged to represent tens of thousands of farmers and others in the food and agriculture space across the state of Ohio. It's obviously no secret that the pandemic and, of course, the market disruptions that have happened globally from the pandemic and other challenges have had a big impact on Ohio's agriculture economy. So this announcement becomes even that much more important today because of that. If you look at this potential to return billions of dollars back to our food and agriculture economy in the state, it will help those businesses remain competitive. And also, as I believe Lieutenant Governor mentioned, the intention for many of those business owners to reinvest those dollars right into their workforce. It also is a testament to the investments that those business leaders have made in their businesses over time, because obviously those investments in protecting their workers and providing safe workplaces have resulted in these types of resources being available. So those investments clearly are paying off. So Governor, again, thank you. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor and Administrator McLeod, for having me on today. And we appreciate all the work that you're doing to help Ohio's economy recover.
Adam, thank you very much. Appreciate you being with us today. Sheila Troutner is also with us. She's the president and CEO of Taste Hospitality Group. She has several hospitality businesses in Central Ohio, including some restaurants. We appreciate you being with us very, very much. And I wonder if you might kind of comment as a business owner what impact this may have on some other businesses and on your business.
Absolutely. Thank you, Governor, for the opportunity to speak today on behalf of the restaurant and food service industry. Also, thank you to Lieutenant Governor and Administrator McLeod. As a small business owner, I operate 3 restaurants and 2 event facilities in Central Ohio, and I'm also the chair at the Ohio Restaurant Association at the board of directors. And given the challenges of operating a hospitality business in 2020, I can certainly tell you Ohio's restaurant and food service community greatly appreciates these BWC dividend payments. I will say from my experience, the first 2 dividend payments were very helpful for my business, and the one announced today is a very pleasant surprise. We thank you all for this announcement and appreciate that you're pushing the envelope in an effort to help Ohio businesses offset the cost of operating under the conditions we are facing this year. restaurants in general, they run on tight margins, so every dollar counts. And my restaurants, specifically, I plan to use these funds for keeping more of our people employed, possibly offsetting some of our PPE expenses, hand sanitizer, cleaning supplies, sanitizing supplies, and taking the opportunity to proactively let our customers know that we are operating excellently and safely under the Ohio Restaurant Promise. Our industry employs 585,000 people in the state of Ohio, and we are committed to being here into the future to continue serving our employees, our customers, and our community. In addition, I'd say we are thankful for several of the other programs the governor you have approved, including the CARES Act grants for small businesses and funding for the liquor permit fees for restaurants and bars. As well, the Drinks to Go program has been very helpful for many operators in our industry. Ultimately, my comments are that restaurant people are tough. We are tenacious, and we will persevere and do everything in our power to survive 2020 and be here to help drive Ohio's economic recovery. And these dividend payments will certainly help in that. So we certainly appreciate it, and thank you all for everything you do.
Well, thank you, and thanks for all restaurants do. And I know it's been a difficult time for them, and we hope that this will be of some help. Thank you very much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Shan Cochran is the chair for the BWC Board of Directors, and he's also joining us today. Chan?
Thank you, Governor DeWine, Lieutenant Governor Houston, and other guests on this call today. The 11-member board of the Bureau of Workers' Compensation is pleased to be in a position to help Ohio employers and employees in this difficult time. We're able to do so because of the superb management of the BWC staff under Administrator McLeod and superior investment results over a long period of time. BWC exists to help Ohio employees who are hurting. Because the COVID virus presents unprecedented challenges in Ohio, helping our businesses and their workers is a proper and needed use of these funds. I do want to emphasize, however, that even with the large size of this dividend, the BWC remains in a very conservative financial posture. After payment, if approved, we will still have $6.3 billion in net assets. Our assets will be 1.43 times our actuarial liabilities, meaning that we have money in reserve for even major changes in financial markets. Governor, I think I can predict with confidence that this proposal will be well received by the board next week, and I look forward to reporting approval of this request to you at that time.
Great. We look forward to that. Thank you very much. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for all you've done over the years for BWC. We appreciate it very, very much. We're ready for questions.
Governor, first question today is from Ben Schwartz at WCPO in Cincinnati.
Ben.
Hi, Governor. Thank you very much for taking questions today.
Sure.
I'm curious, though, about how your talks with officials from counties nearing the purple level have been going. We heard from Hamilton County Commissioner Denise Driehaus today saying, quote, the governor has the authority to say, if you're a purple county, X, Y, and Z might happen, close quote, along with acknowledging your hope that the county or that the community changes its behavior regarding COVID-19. With this kind of language, though, it seems to many like there's a sort of back and forth going on between some counties and the state in terms of who it's up to regulate COVID restrictions. So I'm really just asking, if we do go purple, who will have to be the one to actually limit gatherings?
Well, we're asking people already to limit gatherings. We're seeing this virus spread throughout the state. It's spreading very, very quickly. And it's spreading in our rural areas as well as our urban areas. So it is now the time for us to, look at limiting these gatherings, look at maybe not having some of these gatherings. And if we do have things, be very, very careful, wear a mask. So this is a difficult time throughout the state of Ohio. As we talked about yesterday, 82 of our counties are now high incident counties. We've never seen anything like this before. in Ohio. We started yesterday with phone calls. Our Zoom calls where we had the opportunity to talk with a lot of community leaders. We did one Hamilton County this morning. We've done some other counties in Western Ohio, Northwestern Ohio, and we'll have some more later today. Whether or not the 3 counties that are on the watch list actually go from red to purple, we will not know until later today when we look at the data and our our data team comes to us and says this is where we are. But I want to make this very clear to people. We do not have any intention, if these counties go purple, to issue any kind of particular orders. It really is going to come down to each community taking charge and pushing back against this virus. Hamilton County has done a good job. Clark County has done a good job. Cuyahoga County has done a good job. The leadership of the 3 communities has come together. The political leadership, the public health leadership, business leadership has all come together. So our calls the last 2 days to those counties has been to encourage them to continue to do that, to say we got another battle to fight. We fought 2. You've done well. The state has done well, but we got another one. And we're into a very tough period of time. We had school administrators on each of the calls, and each time we got a question. If our county goes purple, are you going to do something in regard to our schools? And the answer is, so far, we have left it up to local school districts, over 635 school districts around the state, to make the decision what's in the best interest of their children. The color code, whether it goes from red to purple or not, combined with the listing that we put out every day of what the spread is in each community for the last 2 weeks, those should be kind of guiding indicators about what's going on in your community. But particularly in the bigger communities, the bigger counties, you need to look at the zip code data. Look where the school, sometimes we have a school that might be even on a border of several counties. So that school just needs to look at the zip codes, look to see what's going on in that district. They also need to see what's been reflected in their school. And, then make those choices based upon all that information. Our job is to give as much information on the health side of it as we can, and we will continue to do that. So whether any of these counties go purple tomorrow or don't go purple, it should inform people about what's going on. Going purple basically means, hey, we're starting to see some problems with the hospitals, in the future we're going to see some problems if these trend lines continue. But we will not issue any orders tomorrow about the closure of schools. Every school will continue to make that adjustment if they want to make an adjustment, or they'll continue to make that decision based upon what they think is in the best interest of their students, based on what they're seeing in their zip code, based upon what they're seeing in their county, based on what they're seeing in their school. Thank you.
Next question is from John London at WLWT in Cincinnati.
John.
Hi, Governor. As you say all that, 2,600 new cases today, and as you know, hospitalizations and ICU admissions are up. You've asked Ohioans to not host or to go to gatherings of any size. And I must tell you, we hear from parents who wonder why you expect anyone to follow that advice when they hear from their own kids and other parents that if it's okay to go to school, it's safe enough to be with friends and gather after school. That's their reality. So they're asking, aren't you sending a mixed message if the schools stay open?
I don't think so. I'm going to make this really clear. We have not seen significant spread in the classroom that we are aware of. That has been confirmed by every superintendent I've talked to. So in that formal setting, and here's the thing that I think is important, John. In that formal setting, people are wearing masks. The teacher is wearing a mask. Every student is wearing a mask. That is a very different setting than when adults or young people get together after school or after work and nobody's wearing a mask and people are having a gathering. Those are fundamentally two different events. One is safe, or as safe as it can be made. The other is highly dangerous. And so that's the distinction. So the message, maybe I've not done a good job transmitting the message, but the message is if you're wearing a mask and you're careful, you can go about your life. But if you're not wearing a mask, you're not careful, and you're doing things that you might have thought, hey, that was okay a year ago, until we can get out of this pandemic, they become a high-risk proposition. It's like Halloween. Halloween parties just don't make any sense now. Could you do trick or treat and figure out a way that you could do it as carefully as possible? Yeah, we're not telling people don't do trick or treating, but you got to be careful. You don't want to be in a situation where your child walks right up to the door. If you're at the door, you put your light on. You shouldn't walk up to that child. Figure out some way to leave it for the child, as long as the child doesn't have to reach in and put their hand where a whole bunch of other kids are putting their hands. So there's ways of doing things, and that I think there's just a fundamental distinction between what is safe and what is not safe. And the good news is we've learned so much in the last 7 or 8 months. We know a lot better what's safe, and we know a lot better what's not safe.
Governor, can I add something to that? We're asking people to prioritize. We think education is really important. We think getting kids in school and having them learn what they need to learn to progress educationally is important. A Halloween party, at least in my view, does not have the same priority. And we're just saying to people, you can't do everything the way you always have done it. You have to prioritize. We want to keep businesses open. We want to keep schools open, but that's going to require us in our been working on for a while that would be really helpful to clear off the decks in the lame duck session.
And look, we still believe, not changed my position, House Bill 6 needs to be repealed.
Next question is from Helen Maynard at WEWS in Cleveland.
Good afternoon, Governor. Thanks for taking questions today. So you did mention earlier that you've been talking to leaders in the different counties. You've made some calls already. Have you spoken to Cuyahoga County? And what guidance did you give them? Because there seem to be a lot of questions in our county. And did Cuyahoga County provide you with some feedback? And if so, what was that?
Sure. First of all, Cuyahoga County has done a good job. People of Cuyahoga County have mask compliance very good. We had a very good call yesterday with some of the leaders of Cuyahoga County. One of the things that they were concerned about, frankly, as we discussed it, was that we were seeing out, we are seeing people going to events, and that's not unique to Cuyahoga County. We're seeing it in other counties too. That people, when they're in school, it's safe. People at workplace, it's safe. But we kind of, all of us let our guard down when we go out and we're with friends or we're with family, and it's natural to let your guard down. And so the message from them was, we gotta step up in regard to that. We also discussed yesterday the whole issue about purple. If Cuyahoga County would go purple, and what we just talked about a moment ago with Ben and with John. That goes for Cuyahoga County as well. We're not going to, if Cuyahoga County goes purple, I don't know if they will, tomorrow, we're not going to issue additional orders. It just is one more piece of information. And again, the going to purple is a signal that potentially we have a hospital problem. We were on a call today, for example, in Mercer County, Northwest Ohio, and got some, alarming information in regard to, people going to hospitals. Hospitals starting to fill up. So we got to watch those things. And my job is to report that to the people, of each community. So when we come back tomorrow and we'll see what counties, if any of these 3 counties go purple, that's just another indicator to the county of exactly what's going on in the county.
Next
So we had a
question.
good call.
Next question is from Andrew Welsh Huggins at the Associated Press.
Governor,
Andrew?
I had an election-related question to do with security. What role at this point do you envision the Ohio National Guard playing on election day, election night, or in the days afterward, should there be any unrest that accompanies either voting, ongoing ballot tabulation, or the results themselves? Basically, what plans are there at this point for calling up the Guard, for the possibility of mass protests or any other kind of possible disturbance? Thanks.
Well, the Guard will play the role that the Guard should play and does play, and that is as backup. Now, if you recall, when we had demonstrations a few months ago, that's what role the Guard played. And every city that asked me to deploy the Guard, we did that. They were deployed basically as backup support. The first line needs to be the local police, whatever jurisdiction that we are in. You didn't ask this, but I'll add the Highway Patrol is also there. Again, we do not have a state police in this state. We have local police. And so we are there to back them up. So the Highway Patrol would be there to back them up. National Guard would be there to back them up. So that would be the proper role. That's what role they will play. I will not hesitate if a mayor requests that help. If we get a call from a sheriff, whoever we get the call from, we'll have that discussion, and then we can certainly deploy the National Guard. Look, we hope that that's not necessary. We hope we don't have these problems, but that's the answer.
Next question is from Andy Chow at Ohio Public Radio and Television.
Andy?
Hi, Governor. Back to just talking about businesses in Ohio, I'm wondering what kind of information are you and the administration gathering from restaurants and other businesses as they continue to operate under these restrictions? What kind of information are you gathering so you can make decisions on if restrictions need to be tightened or if restrictions could maybe be lifted?
Well, we have conversations with the Restaurant Association, for example, and different people who run restaurants. I know people who have a bar, a friend of mine, and so he and I talk as well. So, I think we're getting input, certainly. And I know John, you may want to say something. You have a conversation, I think, most regularly once a week with the Ohio Restaurant Association. So we're certainly getting input. John, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, look, we know that the restaurants and bars are struggling. That's why we put forth the packages that we have over the last week. We know that as the COVID cases rise, that people get a little nervous about going out, and that puts a lot of pressure on them. You're seeing, based on the information that I get back, and I do a weekly call with the Ohio Restaurant Association, that you have restaurants that are still 40, 50% of where they were. You have some that are 75, 80% of where they were. And then if you have some that are just specializing in carry out or delivery, some of them are doing better than they've ever been before. It just depends on where they're situated on what the impact of the virus is. And look, if you're a restaurant that's near a convention center and you depended on convention traffic, obviously you're getting hurt more than a restaurant who would be maybe in more of a residential neighborhood. And so it's hit and miss with who's impacted and where they're impacted. We get the local health data from the local health departments. They do their best to contact trace to know if there are ever any issues in restaurants or bars. 90% of the time, they're doing it right. There's no doubt. There's some cases where they have not, and we're enforcing that. There are consequences for people that don't do it right. But it's taking all of that information and Andy, I wish there was a clear. I wish it was just crystal clear about what we needed to do and where we needed to focus. But I hope you'll understand from that explanation that it's complicated, depending on where the business is, what clientele they cater to, what hours of operation they really, where they make their money. And so we're trying to build packages and responses that meet the unique challenges of that industry.
Next question is from Jim Oddie at WHIO in Dayton.
Hey, Jim.
Governor, I want to go back to your announcement on the BWC. For those business owners in the state of Ohio and in the Miami Valley specifically, is there a way for them to tell, first off, when they log onto their account, is there a way for them to tell in advance how much money they might be eligible in this outlay? And secondly, could you talk just a bit about the mechanics of if this is improved next week, how long it might take for that money to begin flowing? What kind of a window are they looking at? Because they're very anxious about being able to pay their bills.
Well, absolutely. I'm going to ask Administrator McLeod to weigh in on that. Stephanie, you still on?
I sure am, Governor.
Right.
Thank you so much for that question. If employers look back at their true up, we do once a year true up similar to what businesses sometimes pay in estimated taxes to the Department of Tax. Their true up time ended here just a couple months ago. And if they look at their true up, and if they take that amount and multiply it by about 3.72, just under 4 times, that should get them an expectation of what kind of check they would expect to see. If the board approves this next week, we will begin very quickly, but as you can imagine, there are some logistics to more or less redeeming our investments and then getting that process through, sending it over to a check run and getting those out. Right now, our goal is to have everything out to employers in the mail by the second week of December. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next question is from Jeff Reddick at WSYX in Columbus.
I was trying to reach Sheila Troutner if she's still on. Is she still with us?
Sheila, you still there?
I'm here. Yes.
There you go.
Hi, Sheila. Jeff Reddick at Channel 6. I see the Restaurant Association signs are in the background with you there. You're, of course, an owner of a portfolio of restaurants. I'm sure they operate as their own individual businesses in some regard. But
Correct.
For other small business restaurant owners in the state, the majority owning one restaurant or one bar only, they may not be able to move resources around as easily. Of course, we're seeing alarming numbers of cases now. People may be less likely to go out. So can you quantify how long $13,000 or less might help a business like that hang on?
Well, going back to Lieutenant Governor's point, I mean, restaurants are all different sizes and all different, have different resources. And for an independent, I operate my businesses independently, so I look at each one as on its own. I think that these dollars will help. I mean, any dollars will help, frankly. I mean, restaurants run on tight margins, so it's, depending on what the resources provided with the dividend payments are being used for, I believe that there's definitely, it's helpful. But, for me to speculate about how much or how long these funds will help in a business, I can't do that because, I can't speak for all of these restaurants. What I will say is that we do need Congress to provide more PPP. And I think that is a huge lifeline for many restaurants and those in the hospitality industry. I think that will be a critical lifeline for many as we enter into this winter and colder season.
Next question is from Jack Windsor at WMFD in Mansfield.
Hey, Jack.
Hi, Governor. There are experts who believe that quarantining and distancing healthy people is the wrong strategy. Dr. Scott Atlas in the White House, the scientists who signed the Great Barrington Declaration, and then the recent study released by the British Medical Journal. So part one, what are your experts saying about this? And then part two, we received a report that you're asking big businesses in red counties to keep their employees at home. Is this true? Thank you.
Well, as far as quarantine, we're basically following what the best guidelines are. And we try to do that throughout the pandemic. As far as the talking to businesses, look, we're in a difficult time in Ohio. And so if people can work from home, we want them to do that. But that's going to be up to the individual business. It depends on what that business does. It depends on the nature of that business and the nature of the particular job that person has. But if people are still working from home, this would not be a time to switch them back. If you've been able to have them, work from home up until now that we're starting to shoot back up, it certainly would not be a time to change the plan. So we're just asking businesses to look at this, make their own determination. But if people can work from home, obviously that's a good thing at this point. I mean, look, we're headed into November, December, January, which most experts months ago said, could be a more difficult time. So anytime that we can, lessen exposure and lessen possibility of there being a transmission of the virus, and if that can be done, then we certainly encourage people to do that.
Next question is from Dan DeRose at WOIO in Cleveland.
Good afternoon, Governor.
Hey, Dan.
I just wanted to ask where you feel personally. I think back in late August and September, I think we could all get an indication that you were feeling pretty positive about where we were headed as a state. We had days of 400, 500 cases a day. We have since quadrupled that. Where do you feel personally as the leader of Ohio as we see cases of 2,600 in a day?
Well, as we look back and compare to where we are today, this is, we thought obviously in March it was the most dangerous time. We thought in June and July we were in a dangerous time. But this is the most perilous time that we've been in. This is where, we're headed into winter. We're heading to Thanksgiving where people normally get together. We're heading to Christmas when people get together. The days are shorter. People are inside more. It gets colder. And we're seeing numbers that are going up faster than we've seen them before. So we've never seen spikes in cases like this. We've never seen the spike that was as steep as curve as we have seen in regard to hospitalization. So every sign is going the wrong way. Now, there is good news out there. We just got to get to it. And the good news is that vaccines are coming. And we're going to get through this and we're going to come out of this. But we got to get through the next few months. And these are going to be difficult months. Something I said a couple of weeks ago, that it will get better. It's just probably going to get worse before it gets better. And we have it within our hands to control how bad this winter gets. And, we've had, I think, 5 calls with counties so far. We've got 2 more this afternoon, tonight. And, that's been my message is, look, we need your help. It comes down to what individuals do. And it's not so much about, people say, what are you going to do? Well, it's really what about collectively we do. And so I've been asking the different county leadership, to pull together, take ownership of this just within your county. And, if we can slow that spread in your county, that means your nursing homes are safer, your schools have a better chance of being open, and your hospitals have a much better chance of not being overflowing. So I'm an eternal optimist. I think Ohioans can do this. I know Ohioans can do this. And I think when people understand what we have to do, that we'll go ahead and do it. We've already done it once. We've done it twice. Now we got a challenge. We're tired, but we got to get up and we got to go do battle with this virus again.
Next question is from Alex Ebert at Bloomberg.
Good afternoon, Governor. This is a question both for Administrator McLeod and for you. Ohio runs the largest state-run insurance system in the United States. Can Administrator McLeod provide a context for how the push to work remotely has impacted claims at the BWC, such as how large of a decrease she's seen in claims and impacted costs? And given these changes, Governor, can you weigh in on whether the state might need changes to our system due to what could be a larger work-from-home revolution spurred by COVID-19? Thanks.
Yeah, I've not done any analysis of it or seen any analysis what impact this might have. Administrator McLeod, you want to weigh in?
Thank you, Governor. Thank you for that question. Obviously, during times where businesses were in a restricted operating format, we saw a decrease in claims. Those have steadily increased coming back as we see the economy come back. At this point, we're still below where we were last year, but we are steadily increasing. Surprisingly and pleasantly, we do also continue to get a number of new policy requests. I love the optimism of Ohioans that they will make lemonade out of lemons. And we've seen a large increase, not a large increase, but a steady flow of new employer policies, people who are venturing out on their own and trying to start their own businesses. So right now, I think the short answer is in conclusion that we're a little bit down from last year, but we continue to return from where we've been and where we expected to be.
Thank you.
Next question is from Jim Province at the Toledo Blade.
This question is also for Director McLeod. When last month's dividend was announced, you said then that this was going to be the last for this year and that there would be no dividend next year as a result. Now we're just a month later and we're quadrupling the size of a dividend. What has changed?
Thank you for that question. Yes, in fact, that was the conversation we had. There was a fair amount of concern because in previous dividends, we distributed up to the amount of the premium that an employer may have paid. This amount goes above and beyond those amounts that employers have paid. That creates some potential tax consequences. So that was one factor. The other was looking at it more deeply. We've spent the last year, as you might imagine, looking at our net position, reducing it responsibly. And we continued to roll out these dividends to this year. And yet our net position pleasantly remains stronger than we expected. We took this opportunity after presenting our updated forecasting economic models to the board last week. We discussed with the governor the opportunity to give back a largest dividend that we've ever done in an effort to help employers, but also getting it out at this time, which was something we were struggling with, again, with the potential tax consequences. We thought about the losses that a lot of businesses have incurred this year. It's really a timing issue and a timing opportunity for them to be able to offset whatever taxes they may incur as a result of this dividend against whatever losses they may have incurred as a result of COVID.
Let me just add to that. they assured me, Administrator, assured me that this, can be done. It was fiscally prudent, conservative approach. And frankly, we are looking for any opportunity we can to help businesses in the state of Ohio to keep going and to keep people employed. So if ever there was a time, this is a 100-year pandemic, if ever there was a time to do this and get that money literally into the hands of businesses throughout the state of Ohio, as well as in some local governments, we felt it was the right thing to do. So we're going to continue, we're looking for ways to help business keep people employed.
Governor, I also want to add to that, just again on timing, for a lot of and this is something that Sheila Troutner pointed out, the PPP money is gone. There is this period right now where there's a lot of uncertainty about whether there will be another round and what the federal government will do. And in that interim, this is from a timing point of view, from a cash flow point of view, from a need point of view, this is the exact right time to get that money back out to those businesses who are struggling.
Next question is from Shane Stegmiller at Hannah News Service.
Thanks for taking my question. To kind of piggyback off of Jim's question, can you talk about how you came up with the $5 billion number and what went into settling on that?
Sure. They assured me that they could do that. It was fiscally prudent. It was the conservative, we always want to take a conservative approach. You always want to take a cautious approach to something like this. But, this is an opportunity to put money directly back into the hands of business so they can continue to employ people, they continue to move forward. And as the Lieutenant Governor said, there's been a kind of a gap in here. And if we can at least partially fill that gap now, it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do for the future of the state of Ohio.
Next question is from Josh Rotenberg at Spectrum News.
Hi, Governor. How are you?
Hey, Josh.
Have you had any pressure from the Trump administration or any state political officials to not issue any more shutdowns? And since you want to leave it to any further directives to local governments, what are you advising high incidence counties to do as far as further restrictions?
No, I've received no pressure from anyone no pressure from Republican Party, no pressure from the Trump administration as far as any shutdowns. We're going to do what we think is right. And look, we're not ruling out doing something in the future. I want to again state that. But at this point, when we analyze why we're seeing the spread, what we come down to is it's not so much in business, it's not so much in schools. Where we're seeing it is in people in their private lives. And our emphasis has been on focusing on that because that is where we're seeing the most spread. I talk to health directors every single day. The last day I've talked to 10. And each one is telling us the same thing. Small county, big county. Where are you seeing the spread? We're seeing the spread from people who are getting together. We're seeing it at birthday parties. We're seeing it at retirement parties. We're seeing it this, we're seeing it that. That's where our focus is. The other thing, we're going to, I hope, talk a little bit more about this tomorrow on our regular press conference. But we got to start looking at things from a bubble point of view. Everybody's got a natural bubble and who you come in contact with. When you go outside that bubble, and particularly if you're not wearing a mask, there's a huge, huge risk. And so that's where we're seeing the spread. And so we will take whatever action we need to take, but when you're in the future, but when you're talking about seeing spread come out of these very personal interactions, it is not something that lends itself and should not lend itself to an additional order from the governor. But it's something that the individuals in this state can take control over. And that's been our message county by county as we've been talking to different counties.
Governor, next question is the last question for today, and it belongs to Laura Bischoff of the Dayton Daily News.
And Laura?
Hey, Governor. So this $8 billion in dividend rebates this year on top of, I think, $1 billion rebates every year since 2013, it kind of raises the question, which is the BWC consistently charging employers too much in premiums?
Well, this has been handled. I'll let the director answer that, the administrator answer that. They've taken a conservative position. They always want to be solvent. I think that that certainly makes sense. But I'll refer that question to the administrator.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Laura, for your question. No, the short answer is no. We have, as the governor mentioned, been very fiscally prudent with our investments. Those have been outstanding. We have decreased our rates. We've had either a decrease or no change in rates every year for private employers since 2007. For public employers, it's been every year since 2008. According to a nationally recognized study done every other year, in 2018, BWC had the 16th lowest rates in the country. That did not contemplate our decrease in rates of 12% in 18, 20% in 19, and 13% in 2020 for private employers. We're hoping to be in the lowest 10 in the country when that report is released next month. We, by design, have investment income. We use that actually to offset operating costs. So our operating cost and paying out claims that we've done this year, actually we're not collecting enough currently to pay those. We transfer funds, by design, from our investments in order to fund that. This is just a result of having several very good years of solid investments, having this additional income, and being very glad that we are able to help in this particular time.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you all at a regular news conference tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Thank you very much.